Today's hero is not just a fighter. He is a phenomenon that has swept through the octagon like a hurricane, leaving behind not only the dashed hopes of his opponents. We're talking about Houston, the Assassin Alexander, an incredibly interesting and multifaceted figure. A real monster in the cage, who is a connoisseur of brutal and uncompromising fighting, where the main goal was and will be an early end. Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to look at Houston Alexander at his best, because he's still in the game and he's still showing class, even though he's over 50. Let's not waste any more time. Let's start with a simple example. Two veterans of the sport, Houston Alexander and Dennis Reed, fought at the Victory Fighting Championship 39 tournament on March 30th, 2013. The number of professional fights Dennis has had is staggering. The number was close to 100 at the time, and it doesn't matter that 40 of them were defeats. But it's clearly a great experience. For Alexander, it was a chance to get back on the winning track after a series of defeats to show his power and experience. His dominant fighting style always attracts attention, and it's important to just start the fight at the first number. The whole course of the fight is 2 acts. They are identical. Reed is trying to make a pass to the feet to deprive his more famous opponent of all the advantages of a puncher, but in doing so, he opens himself up to a whole series of blows to both the head and the body. Complete domination and demonstration of superiority in strength and technique. Dennis has no chance to adapt or counterattack, so the fight ended at the beginning of the second minute. The defense completely lost under the onslaught of the attack, and the assassin takes a confident and easy victory to the bank. Fast forward to 2007, a great time for the UFC, and the meeting between Houston Alexander and Alessio Sakara. If you want to see total dominance and understand why Alexander is so cool, just turn on this fight. Besides, it won't take you long to watch it. The fight between the two was a prime example of Alexander's dominance due to his power and ability to use effective strikes in close combat. He managed to counter the Italian's initial attempts to do more damage. The American quickly cooled down his opponent by successfully counterattacking. The main characters here were the knees. After the first 30 seconds, Alessio no longer looked so energized and confident. He was unable to use his youth against the more experienced Houston Alexander, and that's why this magnificent knee parked the Italian as it should. Then the fight was brought to a head by the brutal power and pressure of the explosive Alexander. As a result, it was a fairly easy, and what is especially gratifying to see, very confident victory. Such moments clearly demonstrate that self-confidence and high morale can be the key to victory. They are like a potion of adrenaline that does not allow you to feel pain. So the assassin looks like a fighter who does not feel any risks for himself. However, the path of a fighter must face challenges and must go through defeats as well. They show his character even better. If you look for Houston Alexander's fights on your own, his fight against the iconic Kimbo Slice will always come up first. And, you know, it's no coincidence. What were the expectations from this fight, given the style of fighting and winning? It was supposed to be a simple slaughter between two knockouts who, if they didn't win, would leave their souls in the octagon. Yet it turned out to be much more dramatic than anyone could have expected. For the first 2.5 minutes, there were no punches at all. The arena began to get bored, but then the show started. Houston Alexander didn't look as confident as his opponent, who literally stole the entire middle of the octagon and was waiting for a chance to get into a fight. They did it in waves. They would come together, exchange pleasantries, and then rest for a few more seconds. The assassin favors his crown knees, while Kimbo is looking for a knockout. The first round is over, and it's hard to say in anyone's favor. It will be better in the second round. I would call this round survival for Alexander. He had to endure very powerful blows in a fight where he was not in a favorable position. At times, it seemed that defeat was about to knock on the American's door, but he survived everything. He survived this, and this, and this. And all of this, in fact, shows the fervor of the hero of the video. Even when losing, he is not ready to lose face. And in the third round, he could have won. For example, thanks to this low kick, but I couldn't finish it. It was a defeat, but not an extermination. The assassin did not become more vulnerable. On the contrary, he showed his readiness for any challenge. There was also one significant victory in the assassin's career: the Victory Fighting Championship 40 tournament, the title fight for the heavyweight championship. Chuck Grisby was his opponent, a tall and very tough fighter. Their meeting promised to be uncompromising, and it turned out that way. From the very beginning of the fight, it was clear that Alexander's strategy was not to dominate the standing position, but also to be able to adapt to Grisby's size and fighting style. Houston used his speed and mobility to avoid Chuck's powerful punches and find gaps for his precise and devastating counterattacks. The meeting with Grisby demonstrated Alexander's vast experience in fighting against fighters with different sizes and fighting styles. In this fight, he demonstrated not only the power of his punches, but also the tactical flexibility that allowed him to control the fight regardless of how events developed. Although the fight lasted 4 rounds, it was definitely not boring. The editors of our channel definitely liked it better than the hyped fight against Kimbo Slice, because the final itself overlaps with that meeting. Look at this powerful series of punches. Grisby couldn't even keep his mouth guard in his mouth from the assassin's punch. The victory was not easy, but it was spectacular. Alexander had to endure a completely losing third round to shine again in the fourth. Almost every great fighter has a special fight. It's a night where no one and nothing can overshadow him, and the style in which he wins that night became his calling card. In May 2007, Alexander made his debut on 2 fronts at once. It was his debut in the UFC at UFC 71. It was also his debut in the light heavyweight division. There were plenty of challenges, but he summed it all up in a brilliant performance so that no one had any questions about what he was doing in his promotion. At the 20th second, it might have seemed that the end was near. The truth was close, but the result was different. Keith Jardine, against whom Houston fought, successfully caught the assassin on the hook. Problems could have arisen if Alexander hadn't gone with his opponent to the cage, where he began to punch at the head from any angle. He found the moment to strike as if he was playing a rhythm game. He hit with hooks, threw uppercuts, and did not forget about his knees. We used to call knockouts lights out or something like that. So looking at this, it seems to me that the assassin turned off the lights in the whole house and then staged a blackout in the city. A very convincing victory and one of the coolest combinations in our memory. This is the kind of courage we want to watch again and again. Bravo! His debut fight in this discipline took place in 2021. He's up against an old man like himself, Wes Combs. I can't help but feel that this is the brother of wrestler The Undertaker. The coffin was not needed, thankfully, but the quick victory shows us all that the assassin still has plenty of reason to win. He is still with us and still knocking people out left and right. And that's all for now. Thank you once again for watching, and we invite you to leave a comment. There you can share your own impressions of the fights with Houston Alexander, as well as suggest who you would like to see in the next episodes. Thank you for your attention, and take care.